My friends, listen to me, because today I speak to your soul. Life will test you. It will push you, provoke you, and try to shake the very foundation of who you are. It will throw storms in your path and fires at your feet. And in those moments when anger rises, when fear takes hold, when emotions scream for control, you have a choice. You can react like a wild flame, uncontrolled and destructive, or you can respond like the steady mountain, unmoved by the winds that howl around it. Life does not ask for permission before it tests you. It does not knock on your door with gentle hands, nor does it give you the luxury of preparation. It comes as a storm, unpredictable, relentless, and indifferent to your readiness. If you are untrained, you will find yourself thrown into chaos, ruled by emotions you cannot control. Anger, fear, impatience, these will take hold of you, pushing you into actions that serve no purpose but destruction. You will lash out in moments of rage, say words that cannot be taken back, make decisions that will haunt you. And in the aftermath, when the dust settles, you will realize that it was not life that defeated you, but your inability to master yourself. The world will always challenge you, but your greatest enemy will always be within. The undisciplined mind is a weak fortress, vulnerable to every passing storm. If you do not train it, if you do not take control, you will be at the mercy of whatever emotion rises first. And a man at the mercy of his emotions is no master of himself. He is a puppet to circumstances, pulled in whichever direction the moment demands. Mastery of self begins with awareness. The ability to observe your thoughts, to recognize the patterns of your own mind, is the first step to control. Most people live unconsciously, reacting to everything around them without questioning why they feel or act a certain way. They are slaves to habit, ruled by impulses that were shaped by years of conditioning. They do not pause before they speak, nor do they think before they act. They let emotions dictate their behavior, believing that their feelings are absolute truths rather than fleeting reactions. But a man who seeks mastery must separate himself from his emotions. He must learn to observe them as one watches passing clouds, not identifying with them, not becoming them, but merely acknowledging their presence. When anger arises, he does not become anger. He sees it, understands it, but does not let it take control. When fear creeps in, he does not surrender. He studies it, questions its validity, and decides for himself whether it deserves his attention. This level of awareness does not come naturally. It must be cultivated, trained, and refined through constant practice. Once awareness is established, discipline must follow. To master oneself is not simply to observe emotions, but to govern them with unwavering authority. A disciplined mind does not react impulsively. It responds with thoughtfulness and control. It does not crumble under pressure nor surrender to temporary feelings. Discipline is the bridge between awareness and action, the force that allows one to choose rationality over impulse. But discipline is not something one is born with. It is forged through practice, repetition, and endurance. It is in the moments of discomfort, when emotions scream for control, that discipline is tested and strengthened. When someone insults you, the easy reaction is to retaliate, to match fire with fire. But a disciplined man pauses, measures his response, and chooses his words with precision. When circumstances go against you, the undisciplined mind panics, falls into frustration and despair. But the disciplined mind remains steady, understanding that frustration is wasted energy and that true power lies in calmness. Every day presents an opportunity to strengthen discipline, to choose patience over haste, clarity over confusion, and control over chaos. The highest level of self-mastery is the ability to remain unmoved regardless of external circumstances. A man who has mastered himself does not allow the world to dictate his peace. He understands that control over external events is limited, but control over his mind is absolute. He does not fear hardship because he knows that suffering is a condition of life, not a punishment. He does not seek approval because he realizes that validation from others is fleeting and unreliable. He does not allow success to inflate his ego nor failure to crush his spirit because he knows that both are temporary and do not define him. This level of mastery is rare, for it requires one to detach from emotions, desires, and fears that most people spend their lives chasing. But those who achieve it walk through life with a quiet strength, unaffected by praise or criticism, unshaken by fortune or misfortune. They are not cold or emotionless, rather they are in full control of themselves, choosing when to act and when to remain still, never allowing the chaos of the world to disturb the order within. Life moves fast, and in its speed, it demands decisions before we have time to think. A word spoken in anger, an action taken in haste, a decision made in panic, these moments seem small, but their consequences can shape our entire existence. The world does not forgive recklessness. It does not reverse time to let you take back a harsh word or undo a foolish choice. What is done, and the damage left behind becomes part of you. When emotions surge, they create the illusion that immediate action is necessary. They trick you into believing that if you do not respond now, you are weak, that if you do not act at once, you will lose control. But the opposite is true. Strength is not found in quick reactions, but in the ability to pause, to let the moment settle before choosing a response. Every impulse, no matter how powerful, is temporary. Anger will pass, fear will fade, excitement will cool. And when they do, only your actions will remain. If you act without thought, you become a slave to every passing feeling, but if you pause before you act, you take command of your own fate. The mind is a battlefield where emotions and reason are constantly at war. When provoked, your first instinct is rarely the best one. The mind in its untrained state is reactive, pulled by every external force like a leaf in the wind. Someone insults you, and anger rises. You lash out without thinking, only to regret your words later. A situation seems urgent, and without consideration you make a decision that later proves disastrous. The wise man knows this truth. The first thought is not always the right one. It is often the product of habit, fear, or unchecked emotion. But if you pause, if you step back and allow time for clarity, a different thought emerges. This second thought, the one that arrives after patience, is often the voice of wisdom. It is calm, rational, and measured. It does not seek revenge, it seeks resolution. It does not act on fear, it acts on understanding. The ability to pause is the ability to hear this voice, to give wisdom the space it needs to rise above emotion. There is power in stillness. The world is loud, chaotic, and demanding, but the one who pauses remains unmoved. He does not rush to answer every call, nor does he allow himself to be pressured into haste. He understands that silence is often stronger than words, that waiting is sometimes the most decisive action. A man who pauses before he acts does not waste time on meaningless battles. He does not respond to every insult for he knows that most words are empty. He does not allow others to dictate his pace, for he moves with intention, not impulse. When conflict arises, he does not react out of pride or fear, but rather he takes a step back, looks at the whole picture, and chooses his course with wisdom. Many believe that quick action is a sign of strength, but true strength is found in restraint. It is easy to lash out, to make a hasty decision, to speak without thinking. But to wait, to think, to choose one's response carefully, that requires mastery over oneself. A pause is not weakness, it is control. The one who pauses before acting is not indecisive but deliberate. He does not hesitate out of fear but out of wisdom. When emotions run high, he steps back, recognizing that decisions made in the heat of the moment are rarely wise. He understands that patience is not passive, it is an active choice, a refusal to be ruled by impulse. The ability to pause is a skill, one that must be trained like a muscle. It begins with small moments, learning to hold back a sharp remark, to breathe before responding, to consider before making a choice. Over time it becomes a habit, a natural way of being. The man who has mastered this skill walks through life with a quiet confidence. He is not easily shaken, not easily provoked. He does not waste energy on meaningless reactions. He acts only when necessary, speaks only when needed, and in doing so, he commands respect not by force, but by the undeniable power of his restraint. The world glorifies movement, action, and noise. It tells you that to be strong, you must always be fighting, always be speaking, always be pushing forward. But true strength is not found in constant motion, it is found in stillness. A mind that cannot be still is a mind that cannot be strong. It is restless, agitated, easily influenced by external forces. It reacts instead of responds, driven by fear, anger, or impatience. Those who lack stillness mistake movement for progress, believing that action without thought is better than waiting with wisdom. But the strongest among us are not those who shout the loudest or act the fastest, they are those who can sit in silence, unmoved by chaos, unshaken by fear. They do not allow the world to dictate their pace. They do not waste energy chasing every distraction. They know that real power is not in controlling everything around them, but in controlling themselves. The ability to be still, to pause, to listen, this is where true strength lies. It is the foundation of discipline, the mark of a mind that has mastered itself. Without stillness, there is no clarity. Without clarity, there is no wisdom. Stillness is not the absence of action, it is the presence of control. It is the ability to stop and think when every impulse tells you to move. In stillness, there is observation, there is understanding, there is patience. A man who has cultivated stillness does not allow himself to be dragged by the urgency of the moment. He does not react to every stimulus, nor does he let emotions dictate his decisions. He watches, he listens, and only then does he act. When others panic, he remains calm. When others rush, he holds steady. This is not passivity, it is mastery. The undisciplined mind seeks immediate gratification, immediate resolution. It cannot bear the discomfort of waiting, of uncertainty, of restraint. But the strong mind understands that stillness is not weakness, it is the ultimate proof of strength. It is the ability to stand firm when the world demands you move, to remain composed when life tests your patience. Strength is not found in how quickly you respond, but in how well you can resist the pull of impulse. In a storm, the tree that stands tall and unbending is the first to break. The one that bends, that moves with the wind but never loses its roots, is the one that survives. Stillness is this flexibility, this resilience. It is the understanding that not every battle must be fought, not every insult must be answered, not every challenge must be met with immediate resistance. The strongest people are not those who force their way through life, but those who know when to stand firm and when to yield. A man who has found strength in stillness does not engage in pointless conflict. He does not let his peace be disturbed by the chaos of others. He does not feel the need to prove himself through force or noise. His confidence comes not from the validation of others, but from the mastery of himself. He has learned that the greatest victories are often won not by fighting, but by waiting, by choosing the right moment to act, by knowing when stillness is the most powerful response. Stillness sharpens the mind and strengthens the soul. It allows you to see with greater clarity, to understand without the distortion of emotion. It gives you space to think, to reflect, to make decisions that are not driven by fear or anger, but by wisdom and intention. In a world that demands constant action, stillness is a form of defiance. It is a refusal to be rushed, a declaration that you will not be controlled by external forces. It is in stillness that ideas are formed, that clarity is achieved, that true power is cultivated. A man who has mastered stillness does not seek distraction, does not fear solitude, does not run from silence. He understands that strength is not in chasing but in waiting. It is not in reacting, but in responding with precision. In the quiet he finds his direction. In the stillness he finds his strength. So train your mind, harden your spirit, respond, do not react, and watch as the world bends, not you.